Welcome to Liberation Lens, where stories unfold beyond the headlines and perspective truly matters. History isn't finished, it's unfolding. This is Liberation Lens. Perspective matters.
This is Liberation Lens, Perspective Matters. Welcome to episode 1 of our documentary on capitalism and its disruption of geopolitical and economic systems worldwide. This episode introduces us to capitalism, a word so familiar, so normalized, that it often passes without question. But today, we ask the questions that matter. How did this system come to rule the world? Whose interests does it serve? And what has it cost us? Is it our dignity, our land, our future? Often portrayed as a system of markets, freedom, and growth, capitalism is at its core about ownership, competition, and accumulation. As David Harvey explains, capitalism revolves around the endless accumulation of capital. This growth isn't just a feature, it's a requirement. It thrives on producing more, consuming more, and profiting more, regardless of human or ecological cost. From the outside, capitalism looks like success, rising GDPs, smartphones, skyscrapers. But beneath the surface lies deep inequality. In Congo, children mine cobalt for the world's iPhones. In Nigeria, oil spills poison rivers while profits flow to European banks. This is not shared prosperity, it's organized inequality, dressed in the language of development. Capitalism is more than an economic model. It is a global system of control. One that replaced chains with contracts, bullets with bank loans. After independence, leaders like Nkrumah pursued state-led development rooted in self-reliance. But by the 1980s, the IMF and World Bank imposed structural adjustment programs that prioritized privatization. The message was clear: privatize or perish. Hand over your water, land, and schools, or face ruin. Note that under capitalism, everything becomes a commodity: water, seeds, education, even our data. In Kenya, and elsewhere, farmers must buy patented, genetically modified seeds each season from multinational corporations. These seeds come with contracts that strip farmers of traditional rights and bind them to corporate dependence. This reflects a global trend, the privatization of public goods. In healthcare, collective safety nets are vanishing, replaced by complex, profit-driven systems. Access to medical care increasingly comes with a price tag, especially in regions with minimal regulation and strong lobbying influence, such as the US. The digital age has brought a new layer of exploitation. Personal data, once private, is routinely harvested and monetized, often without meaningful consent or accountability. In countries lacking strong data protections, the risks are even greater. Politics, too, plays a role in legitimizing these practices. Lobbying and gerrymandering in the US mirror corrupt tactics condemned in the global South, yet these systems are often exported to those same regions. Leaders may be pressured, incentivized, or threatened into siding with private interests over public good. In some cases, resisting these models is seen not as a principle, but a threat, fueling a political climate where survival trumps solidarity. How about its impacts on climate? Capitalism's engine demands growth, but its byproduct is environmental collapse. From emissions to deforestation to drought, the damage is widespread. And those least responsible, communities in Ethiopia, Khartoum, Mali, etc., suffer most. Mozambique's 2019 cyclone Idai, linked to climate change, left thousands displaced and over 1,000 dead. Mali's herders now face failed rains, dying livestock, and unfamiliar landscapes. The irony is staggering. These regions barely contribute to global emissions but bear the brunt of the crisis. This isn't incidental. It's climate injustice baked into capitalism's growth logic. In this system, destruction is mistaken for development. Marginalized lives are treated as expendable. However, awareness is growing. Some propose alternatives such as degrowth, climate reparations, and just transitions that prioritize people and planet over GDP. But the dominant system marches on, blind to the impossibility of infinite growth on a finite planet. If capitalism worked as promised, wouldn't more people be thriving? Instead, the top 10% control over 76% of global wealth, while half the world survives on less than $6.85 a day. Instead, beyond inequality, capitalism fractures solidarity. It teaches that success is personal and poverty is failure. This myth erodes empathy, pitting individuals and entire communities against each other. In this case, as scarcity fuels competition, and migrants become scapegoats. Then, nationalism swells as governments divert blame from systemic failures. In the global north, populist movements feed on economic discontent. In the global south, exploitative trade deals and debt traps deepen instability. But resistance is growing. From mutual aid to labor unions and climate movements, people are reclaiming community. But how is Africa involved? Africa sits at the heart of this equation. Not as a partner, but as a resource base, shaped by interests that extract rather than empower. Colonial powers once divided the continent for wealth. Today, the dynamics persist through corporations, loans, and militarization. Congo's rubber, South Africa's gold, Ghana's cocoa, and the lives of millions, built Western wealth. That system never truly ended. It just adapted. This brutal phase of capitalism commodified not just land and minerals, but human lives. Therefore, independence brought new flags, but not freedom from economic domination. Today, foreign control persists through corporate dominance, debt dependency, and militarized security. Infrastructure projects, funded by loans from Beijing, Washington, and Paris, often serve the lenders more than the local populations. And as debt obligations grow, public services shrink, and policymaking tilts toward appeasing creditors rather than meeting people's needs. Security, too, has become a tool of external control. From AFRICOM's presence across the Sahel to private contractors and foreign drones, the continent's defense is frequently managed by outsiders pursuing foreign agendas. What's labeled as counterterrorism often overlooks or worsens local realities. This paints a continent still entangled in extraction and control, despite the language of partnership. However, Africa is not standing still. From Pan-African movements to grassroots demands for resource sovereignty, resistance is rising. There is a growing awareness that the shift won't come from boardrooms. It will come from below, from farmers, students, organizers, and everyday people reclaiming what's theirs. In Senegal, youth challenge IMF austerity and the distant bureaucracies shaping their lives. In South Africa, communities press for land justice, refusing to let history's theft go unchallenged. In Zimbabwe, urban farmers turn rooftops into gardens, quiet revolutions in self-reliance and resilience. These actions echo across the globe. From indigenous land defenders in Latin America to rent strikes in Europe, worker cooperatives in Asia, and mutual aid networks worldwide. People aren't just reacting, they're rebuilding. The real question now isn't whether capitalism is in crisis. It's whether we're bold enough to imagine what comes next. Is it participatory democracy? Eco-socialism? The commons? A hybrid yet unnamed? Across cultures and continents, new models are emerging, not imposed, but cultivated by those living the consequences of the old order. For a fact, capitalism presents itself as inevitable. It was built by conquest, sustained through narrative, and upheld by force. However, its cracks are widening. For a future rooted in justice, sustainability, and sovereignty, especially in Africa, it must be reimagined. This is Liberation Lens, Perspective Matters. Because freedom is not given. And the future must be claimed.
You have just seen the world through a different lens. Subscribe, comment, share, and help amplify voices that deserve to be heard. Until next time, keep looking deeper. Liberation Lens, Perspective Matters.